The city was alive with its usual chaos, a symphony of honking cars, hurried footsteps, and the hum of conversations spilling out from cafes and street vendors. Among the crowd, Adrian walked with purpose, his polished leather shoes clicking against the pavement. He was a man who commanded attention without trying. His tailored suit, sharp jawline, and confident stride made him stand out in any room. But today he wasn't thinking about board meetings or stock prices. His mind was preoccupied with memories of a life long past, a time when he wasn't a billionaire but just another kid sitting in a classroom, scribbling notes and dreaming of the future. Adrian had built his empire from nothing. Born into a modest family, he grew up understanding the value of hard work and determination. His parents worked tirelessly to give him and his siblings a decent upbringing, but money was always tight. Despite their struggles, Adrian excelled in school, earning scholarships that eventually led him to a prestigious university. It was there that his entrepreneurial spirit truly took flight. By the time he turned 30, he had founded a tech startup that would later revolutionize the Awandoi industry. Now at 42, he was one of the wealthiest men in the country, with a sprawling mansion, luxury cars, and a name recognized worldwide. Yet, for all his success, something felt missing. A connection to the simpler days before fame and fortune consumed his life. That evening, Adrian decided to dine at one of the city's most exclusive restaurants. The place was known for its exquisite cuisine and breathtaking views of the skyline. As he entered, the hostess greeted him warmly, leading him to his usual table by the window. From there, he could see the city lights twinkling like stars, a sight that never failed to calm him. He ordered his favorite dish and settled into his seat, letting the ambiance wash over him. For a moment, he allowed himself to relax, savoring the rare opportunity to be alone with his thoughts. But then, something, or rather, someone, caught his eye. Across the room, a woman moved gracefully between tables, balancing plates with practiced ease. Her dark hair was tied back neatly, and though her uniform was simple, she carried herself with dignity. There was something familiar about her, though Adrian couldn't quite place it. He watched as she smiled politely at customers, refilled water glasses, and handled requests with quiet efficiency. It wasn't until she turned slightly, revealing her profile, that realization struck him like a bolt of lightning. It was Emma, his old schoolmate. Emma had been unforgettable even back then. She wasn't just smart. She was kind, compassionate, and endlessly curious about the world. While others were content to follow the rules, Emma questioned everything, challenging teachers and classmates alike to think deeper and dream bigger. Adrian remembered how she used to talk about becoming a scientist, dedicating her life to solving global problems. Everyone believed in her potential, including him. Seeing her now, working as a waitress in an upscale restaurant, filled him with a mix of emotions. Surprise, curiosity, and a pang of sadness he couldn't quite explain. Adrian's meal arrived, but he barely touched it. His gaze kept drifting back to Emma, watching her every move. She seemed different somehow, not just older, but wearier. There was a heaviness in her eyes that hadn't been there before, a weight that suggested years of struggle. He wondered what had happened to derail her dreams. Had life thrown obstacles in her path that she couldn't overcome? Or had circumstances forced her to make choices she never imagined she'd have to make? The questions swirled in his mind, each one more unsettling than the last. After finishing his dinner, Adrian hesitated for a moment before approaching the host stand where Emma stood arranging menus. When she looked up and saw him, her expression shifted from polite professionalism to stunned recognition. "Adrian," she said softly, her voice tinged with disbelief. He nodded, offering a small smile. "It's been a long time, Emma." They exchanged pleasantries, though the conversation felt stilted, almost awkward. Adrian asked how she'd been, and Emma gave vague answers, mentioning work and keeping busy. He could tell she was uncomfortable, perhaps even embarrassed, and he didn't blame her. Despite the tension, Adrian couldn't bring himself to leave without saying more. Before parting ways, he handed her his business card. "If you ever need anything," he said gently, "don't hesitate to call." Emma accepted the card with a nod, her fingers brushing against his briefly. "Thank you," she murmured, though her tone suggested she doubted she'd ever use it. As Adrian walked away, he couldn't shake the feeling that he needed to do more. For her, for the memory of who she once was, and maybe even for himself. Back at his penthouse, Adrian poured himself a glass of whiskey and stared out at the glittering city below. Memories of high school flooded his mind. The laughter-filled lunch breaks, the late-night study sessions, the whispered dreams of changing the world. He remembered how Emma used to light up when she talked about her ambitions, her passion infectious. Life had seemed so full of possibilities back then, untouched by the harsh realities that awaited them. Now seeing her reduced to waiting tables left him feeling uneasy, as if fate had played a cruel joke on both of them. Determined to understand Emma's story, Adrian began making discreet inquiries. Through mutual acquaintances and some careful digging, he pieced together fragments of her life. After high school, Emma had enrolled in a prestigious university, just as everyone expected she would. But tragedy struck when her father passed away unexpectedly, leaving her family burdened with debt. With no financial safety net, Emma dropped out of college to support her mother and younger siblings. Over the years, she took on various jobs, teaching, assistant, retail clerk, office temp, but none provided the stability she needed. Eventually, she found herself working in restaurants, relying on tips to make ends meet. Learning these details only deepened Adrian's resolve. He couldn't ignore the injustice of it all, the way life had robbed Emma of her dreams while rewarding him with unimaginable success. Sitting in his office the next morning, he stared at the skyline, his mind racing with possibilities. An idea began to take shape, one that could offer Emma a second chance. Picking up the phone, he called his assistant and instructed her to arrange a meeting with Emma under the pretense of discussing potential job opportunities. If anyone deserved a lifeline, it was her. When Emma arrived at Adrian's corporate headquarters a few days later, she looked nervous but composed. Dressed in a modest blouse and skirt, she clutched her purse tightly as she stepped off the elevator into the sleek modern lobby. Adrian greeted her warmly, guiding her to a private conference room where coffee and pastries awaited. As they sat down, he noticed the guarded look in her eyes, as if she were bracing herself for bad news. To put her at ease, he started with small talk, asking about her commute and commenting on the weather. Slowly, the tension in her shoulders eased, and she began to relax. Finally, Adrian got to the point. "Emma," he began, leaning forward, slightly. "I've been thinking a lot about our conversation the other day, about your skills, your experience, and the challenges you've faced. I want to offer you a position within my company, not as a waitress or receptionist, but as a project manager overseeing one of our philanthropic initiatives." He paused, gauging her reaction. Emma's eyes widened in shock, her mouth opening, slightly as if to speak but finding no words. Adrian continued, explaining the details of the role. A competitive salary, benefits, and the opportunity to make a real impact on people's lives. For a moment, Emma simply stared at him, her mind struggling to process what she'd just heard. Was this real? Could she trust that this wasn't some elaborate act of pity disguised as generosity? Sensing her hesitation, Adrian leaned back in his chair and spoke earnestly. "This isn't charity, Emma. You're intelligent, resourceful, and compassionate. Qualities we desperately need in this initiative. Let me give you the platform to shine again." His words hung in the air, heavy with sincerity. Emma swallowed hard, blinking back tears as she nodded slowly. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice trembling. "I won't let you down." Over the following weeks, Emma threw herself into her new role with unwavering dedication. Under her leadership, the philanthropic initiative flourished, reaching communities in need and inspiring hope where there had once been despair. Adrian watched proudly as Emma regained her confidence, her natural talents shining brighter than ever. Their professional relationship blossomed into a friendship, built on mutual respect and admiration. Yet, beneath it all, there lingered a quiet connection rooted in their shared history, a bond neither of them could deny. Emma's first day at Adrian's company was a whirlwind of emotions. She arrived early, her heart pounding with a mix of excitement and anxiety. The building itself was intimidating, a towering glass structure that seemed to touch the sky. As she stepped inside, she felt out of place in her simple outfit, surrounded by employees dressed in sharp suits and polished shoes. But as soon as Adrian greeted her with a warm smile and introduced her to the team, some of her nerves began to fade. He had prepared everything meticulously, ensuring she felt welcomed and supported from the very start. Her office was modest but functional, with a large desk, a comfortable chair, and shelves lined with books about leadership and social impact. On the desk lay a handwritten note from Adrian. "Welcome, Emma. This is just the beginning of something incredible." Reading those words brought tears to her eyes. For the first time in years, she felt seen, not as someone struggling to get by, but as someone capable of greatness. Over the next few hours, Adrian walked her through the details of the philanthropic initiative she would be leading. It focused on providing educational resources and mentorship programs to underprivileged youth, a cause close to Emma's heart. By the end of the day, she knew this was more than just a job. It was an opportunity to make a difference. As weeks turned into months, Emma threw herself into her work with relentless passion. She spent long hours researching, planning, and collaborating with her team to develop innovative strategies. Under her guidance, the initiative grew rapidly, reaching communities that had been overlooked for far too long. Schools received much-needed supplies, students were paired with mentors who inspired them to dream bigger, and workshops were organized to teach valuable life skills. Emma's energy was contagious, motivating everyone around her to push harder and aim higher. Adrian watched from afar, marveling at how seamlessly she adapted to her new role. She wasn't just meeting expectations, she was exceeding them. Their interactions became more frequent as they worked together closely. Adrian often stopped by Emma's office to check on her progress or offer advice when needed. At first, their conversations were strictly professional, focused on deadlines and deliverables. But gradually they began to share personal stories, reminiscing about their high school days and discussing their hopes for the future. These moments created a bond between them, one that went beyond boss and employee. Adrian found himself looking forward to their talks, eager to learn more about the woman Emma had become. And Emma, in turn, started to see Adrian in a new light, not as the distant billionaire she once knew, but as a kind and thoughtful man who genuinely cared about making the world a better place. One evening, after a particularly successful event hosted by Emma's team, Adrian invited her to join him for dinner. The restaurant he chose was cozy and intimate, a stark contrast to the upscale places he usually frequented. Over candlelight, they reflected on how far they'd both come since their school days. Adrian spoke candidly about the loneliness that came with his success, admitting that wealth didn't shield him from feelings of emptiness. Emma listened intently, nodding in understanding. She confessed that despite her struggles, she had always held on to hope, believing that things would eventually improve. Their conversation flowed effortlessly, filled with laughter, shared memories, and moments of quiet introspection. By the end of the meal, neither wanted the night to end. Walking back to their cars, they paused under a street lamp, the golden glow casting soft shadows around them. Adrian hesitated for a moment before speaking. "Emma," he said, his voice steady yet tinged with vulnerability. "I know we've taken different paths in life, but I can't help feeling like our meeting again wasn't just coincidence. You've always inspired me, even back when we were kids. And now, I'd like to spend more time getting to know the incredible person you've become." His words hung in the air, heavy with meaning. Emma looked at him, her heart racing. She hadn't expected this, not from Adrian, not after everything they'd been through. Yet deep down she realized she felt the same way. Over the next few weeks, their relationship evolved naturally. They began spending more time together outside of work, exploring the city and sharing meals. Each outing brought them closer, revealing layers of each other they hadn't known existed. Adrian admired Emma's resilience and determination, qualities that had carried her through life's toughest challenges. Emma in turn appreciated Adrian's humility and kindness, traits that weren't always visible beneath his public persona. Together they formed a partnership built on trust and mutual respect, one that felt refreshingly authentic in a world often driven by superficial connections. Despite their growing closeness, Emma couldn't shake the lingering fear of imbalance in their relationship. Adrian's wealth and status loomed large, creating a disparity she couldn't ignore. One afternoon, as they sat in her office reviewing project updates, she finally voiced her concerns. "Adrian," she began hesitantly, "I don't want you to think I'm here because of what you can offer me. I want us to be equals, not just professionally, but personally too." Her honesty took him aback, but only for a moment. Smiling, softly he reached across the desk and took her hand in his. "Emma," he replied, "you've earned everything you have through your hard work and talent. If anything, I'm the lucky one, to have you in my life again." That conversation marked a turning point in their relationship. From then on, they made a conscious effort to focus on the things that truly mattered: shared values, common goals, and the joy of simply being together. Adrian encouraged Emma to pursue her passions, supporting her every step of the way. In return, Emma reminded Adrian of the importance of staying grounded, helping him reconnect with the simpler pleasures of life. Their differences complemented each other perfectly, creating a dynamic that was both balanced and fulfilling. Meanwhile, the philanthropic initiative continued to thrive under Emma's leadership. Success stories poured in from all corners of the city, highlighting the transformative impact of their efforts. Students whose futures once seemed bleak were now excelling academically and pursuing careers they never thought possible. Families burdened by poverty found hope in the resources provided, breaking cycles of hardship that had persisted for generations. The media took notice, praising Adrian's company for its commitment to social responsibility. But Adrian insisted that the credit belonged to Emma, publicly acknowledging her as the driving force behind the program's success. The recognition brought a renewed sense of purpose to Emma's life. For so long she had doubted her abilities, convinced that her dreams were out of reach. Now, standing at the helm of such a meaningful project, she realized she was exactly where she was meant to be. Her confidence soared, and with it came a renewed passion for life. Adrian noticed the change in her demeanor, the way she carried herself with pride, the spark in her eyes when she spoke about her work. It was as if the weight she had carried for so many years had finally lifted, replaced by a sense of fulfillment she hadn't experienced in decades. One crisp autumn evening, Adrian surprised Emma with tickets to a charity gala hosted by his company. The event was held at a grand ballroom adorned with twinkling lights and elegant floral arrangements. Guests mingled freely, sipping champagne and discussing the latest advancements in social innovation. Emma felt a flutter of nerves as they entered the venue, aware of the attention they were drawing. But Adrian stayed by her side, offering reassurance with every glance and touch. As the evening progressed, they danced under the stars, their laughter blending with the soft strains of music floating through the air. It was during one of these dances that Adrian decided to take a leap of faith. Pulling Emma close, he whispered, "There's something I need to tell you." His tone was serious, catching her off guard. She looked up at him, her brow furrowed with curiosity. Taking a deep breath, Adrian continued, "When I saw you waiting tables that night, I had no idea it would lead me here, to this moment with you. You've changed my life in ways I never thought possible. Emma, I love you, and I want to spend the rest of my life making sure you're happy." Tears welled up in her eyes as she processed his words. For a moment, she was speechless, overwhelmed by the depth of emotion in his confession. Finally, finding her voice, Emma smiled through her tears. "Adrian," she said softly, "you've already given me so much: hope, purpose, and a second chance at life. But most importantly, you've given me you. And yes, I love you too." With those words, the room seemed to fade away, leaving only the two of them in a bubble of pure happiness. Adrian reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box, opening it to reveal a stunning diamond ring. Slipping it onto her finger, he kissed her hand gently, sealing the promise of a future together. The crowd erupted in applause as Adrian and Emma embraced, their love story unfolding before everyone's eyes. What had started as a chance encounter had transformed into something extraordinary, a testament to the power of resilience, compassion, and second chances. As they stood there, surrounded by friends, colleagues, and strangers alike, they knew their journey was only beginning. Together, they would continue to inspire others, proving that sometimes the greatest miracles are the ones we least expect. The weeks following Adrian's proposal were a blur of excitement and preparation. Emma still found it hard to believe that her life had taken such a dramatic turn. Just months ago, she was struggling to make ends meet, working long hours at a restaurant while wondering if she would ever escape the cycle of hardship. Now she was engaged to one of the most successful men in the country, leading a philanthropic initiative that was changing lives, including her own. Every morning as she woke up and saw the ring on her finger, she felt a wave of gratitude so overwhelming it brought tears to her eyes. Life, she realized, had a way of surprising you when you least expected it. Adrian, too, was basking in the joy of their newfound connection. For years he had lived a life filled with achievements but devoid of true companionship. His wealth and status had opened many doors, but they had also created barriers between him and the people around him. Relationships often felt transactional, lacking the depth and authenticity he craved. With Emma, however, everything was different. She challenged him, comforted him, and reminded him of the values he had once held dear but lost sight of along the way. Together, they formed a partnership that was not only romantic, but deeply rooted in mutual respect and shared purpose. Their engagement quickly became the talk of the town. News outlets covered the story extensively, painting it as a modern-day fairy tale. "Self-made billionaire falls for former waitress," read one headline, while another declared, "Love conquers. All a second chance at happiness." While some praised their union as inspirational, others were skeptical, questioning whether their relationship could withstand the vast differences in their backgrounds. Social media buzzed with opinions, ranging from heartfelt congratulations to cynical remarks about power dynamics and privilege. Despite the noise, Adrian and Emma remained unfazed, choosing to focus on what truly mattered: their love for each other. Planning the wedding proved to be both exhilarating and challenging. Adrian wanted nothing less than perfection for Emma, insisting on sparing no expense to create a day she would cherish forever. He envisioned an extravagant affair held at a luxurious estate, complete with hundreds of guests, gourmet catering, and breathtaking floral arrangements. Emma, however, had different ideas. Having grown up in simpler circumstances, she preferred something more intimate and meaningful. She envisioned a small ceremony surrounded by close friends and family, followed by a reception filled with warmth and laughter rather than opulence. After several discussions, they reached a compromise, a tasteful yet elegant celebration that reflected both their personalities. As the big day approached, Emma threw herself into her work with renewed vigor. The philanthropic initiative she led was gaining momentum, attracting attention from influential figures across various industries. Donations poured in, allowing them to expand their programs and reach even more communities in need. Emma took pride in knowing that her efforts were making a tangible difference, but she also saw it as a tribute to her journey. Each success story served as a reminder of how far she had come and how much she had overcome. On particularly tough days when doubts crept in or stress threatened to overwhelm her, she reminded herself of the resilience that had carried her through life's darkest moments. Adrian supported her every step of the way, ensuring she had the resources and encouragement she needed to succeed. He attended meetings, offered feedback, and used his network to amplify the initiative's impact. But beyond his professional involvement, he made sure to be present in her personal life as well. Whether it was accompanying her to fittings for her wedding dress or helping her navigate last-minute crises at work, he was always there, ready to lend a hand or provide a listening ear. Their bond grew stronger with each passing day, built on a foundation of trust, communication, and unwavering support. One evening, as they sat together on the balcony of Adrian's penthouse, watching the city lights twinkle below, Emma turned to him with a thoughtful expression. "Do you ever think about how different our lives might have been if we hadn't reconnected?" she asked softly. Adrian paused, considering her question. "I do," he admitted after a moment. "But I also believe that everything happens for a reason. Maybe we needed to go through those experiences separately to appreciate this moment together now." Emma nodded, her gaze returning to the skyline. "It's funny," she mused, "how life has a way of bringing you full circle." Their wedding day finally arrived, bathed in golden sunlight and crisp autumn air. The venue they chose was a picturesque garden nestled on the outskirts of the city, its lush greenery and vibrant flowers creating a serene backdrop for the occasion. Guests began arriving early, dressed in their finest attire and buzzing with anticipation. Among them were old schoolmates, colleagues, and community members whose lives had been touched by Emma's work. Though the guest list was diverse, there was a palpable sense of unity in the air. As if everyone present understood the significance of the day, Emma stood in front of a mirror in her dressing room, adjusting the delicate lace veil atop her head. Her gown was simple yet stunning, a flowing ivory dress that accentuated her natural beauty without overshadowing it. As she gazed at her reflection, she felt a surge of emotion. This wasn't just a celebration of love, it was a testament to survival, growth, and the unyielding belief that better days lie ahead. Her mother, seated nearby, dabbed at her eyes with a tissue, overwhelmed with pride at seeing her daughter so radiant and happy. When Emma turned to hug her, she whispered, "I'm so proud of you, sweetheart. Your father would have been too." Meanwhile, Adrian paced nervously outside, adjusting his tie for the 100th time. Despite his calm demeanor in business settings, today he felt like a bundle of nerves. His best man, a longtime friend and confidant, clapped him on the shoulder, reassuringly. "Relax," he said with a grin. "You're marrying the woman of your dreams. What's there to worry about?" Adrian chuckled, shaking his head. "It's not worry," he replied. "It's awe. I can't believe she said yes to me." His words carried a sincerity that spoke volumes about the depth of his feelings for Emma. When the ceremony began, all eyes turned to the aisle as Emma walked toward Adrian, escorted by her younger brother. The sight of her took his breath away, and for a moment he forgot about everything else, the crowd, the cameras, the world outside. All that mattered was her, standing before him with a smile that lit up the entire garden. The officiant's voice faded into the background as they exchanged vows, promising to stand by each other through thick and thin. When they sealed their promises with a kiss, cheers erupted from the audience, echoing through the trees. The reception that followed was a joyful celebration filled with laughter, music, and heartfelt speeches. Friends and family took turns, sharing stories about Emma and Adrian, highlighting the qualities that made them such a remarkable couple. One speaker recounted how Emma's kindness and determination had inspired countless individuals, while another praised Adrian for using his success to uplift others. By the time they cut the cake and danced their first dance as husband and wife, there wasn't a dry eye in the house. As the night drew to a close, Adrian and Emma stole a quiet moment alone beneath a canopy of twinkling fairy lights. Holding hands, they reflected on the journey that had brought them here, from their humble beginnings to this magical evening. "I never thought I'd find happiness like this," Emma confessed, leaning her head against his shoulder. Adrian kissed the top of her head, his voice soft but resolute. "Neither did I, but now that I have you, I'll spend the rest of my life making sure you never lose it." In that moment, surrounded by love and possibility, they knew their story was just beginning. The months following their wedding were a whirlwind of new beginnings for Emma and Adrian. Their lives merged seamlessly, blending the best parts of who they were individually into something stronger together. Emma moved into Adrian's penthouse, a space that initially felt intimidating with its sleek furnishings and panoramic views of the city. But over time, she added touches of her own: warm throws draped over the couch, shelves lined with books she loved, and framed photos of their happiest moments. Slowly, the apartment transformed into a home, one that reflected both their personalities and the life they were building side by side. Adrian continued to support Emma's work with the philanthropic initiative, which was now expanding rapidly under her leadership. The program had gained national recognition, attracting partnerships with major corporations and nonprofit organizations. Schools across the country began implementing similar models, inspired by Emma's innovative approach to education and mentorship. Her name became synonymous with hope and resilience, a symbol of what could be achieved when determination met opportunity. Yet, despite the accolades and media attention, Emma remained grounded, always prioritizing the people she served over personal glory. Adrian admired this about her deeply, often telling her how proud he was of the impact she was making. Their days were busy but fulfilling, filled with meetings, projects, and shared meals whenever their schedules allowed. Mornings usually started with coffee on the balcony, overlooking the city as it woke up below. They discussed everything from global issues to trivial details like what movie to watch that evening. These quiet moments of connection became sacred. To them, a reminder of the simple joys they cherished amidst their hectic lives. Evenings were reserved for unwinding, sometimes with a glass of wine or a cozy dinner prepared by Emma, who had recently taken an interest in cooking. Despite her initial struggles in the kitchen, Adrian never complained, savoring every dish, even the slightly burnt ones, with genuine enthusiasm. As much as their professional achievements brought them pride, it was the little things that truly solidified their bond. One Saturday morning, Emma surprised Adrian by dragging him to a local farmer's market. She loved browsing through stalls of fresh produce, handmade crafts, and artisanal goods, while Adrian, though initially hesitant, found himself enjoying the lively atmosphere. They laughed as they sampled honey from a beekeeper, haggled playfully over the price of flowers, and even adopted a stray cat they found hiding behind a fruit stand. Naming her Luna, the cat quickly became part of their family, curling up on their laps during lazy afternoons and greeting them at the door each evening. Travel also became a significant part of their married life. Adrian, who had spent years jetting around the world for business, now looked forward to exploring new destinations with Emma by his side. Together they visited places they had only dreamed of, rolling vineyards in Tuscany, pristine beaches in Bali, historic landmarks in Paris. Each trip was an adventure, filled with laughter, discovery, and countless memories. On one such journey, to a remote village in Africa, they volunteered at a school supported by Emma's initiative. Watching children light up as they received new textbooks and art supplies reinforced why they did what they did. For Emma, it was a full-circle moment. For Adrian, it was a profound reminder of the power of giving back. Back home, their relationship continued to evolve, deepening with every shared experience. Adrian learned to slow down, embracing the beauty of simplicity thanks to Emma's influence. He discovered joy in tending to their small garden on the rooftop, planting herbs and flowers that thrived under their care. Emma, on the other hand, grew more confident in navigating the complexities of Adrian's high-profile world. She attended galas and fundraisers with grace, using these platforms to advocate for causes close to her heart. People marveled at how perfectly matched they were, two halves of a whole that complemented each other in ways neither had anticipated. Yet, life wasn't without its challenges. As their initiatives grew, so did the demands on their time. There were days when long hours at work left them too exhausted to connect, and moments when stress threatened to create distance between them. But they faced these obstacles head-on, always prioritizing open communication and understanding. When disagreements arose, and they inevitably did, they tackled them with patience and empathy, never letting resentment take root. Their marriage became a testament to the importance of compromise and mutual respect, qualities that strengthened their partnership even further. One particularly difficult period came when Emma's mother fell ill. Juggling her responsibilities at work and caring for her mom weighed heavily on her, leaving her physically and emotionally drained. Adrian stepped in without hesitation, ensuring she had all the support she needed. He accompanied her to Dr. appointments, handled household chores, and even stayed up late talking to her when sleep eluded her. Through it all, he reminded her that she didn't have to face anything alone. His unwavering presence during this trying time deepened their bond, proving that love wasn't just about grand gestures but also showing up in the smallest, most meaningful ways. When Emma's mother eventually passed away, Adrian stood by her side, holding her hand as she grieved. He encouraged her to honor her mom's memory by continuing the work she was passionate about, knowing it would bring her comfort and purpose. In tribute, Emma launched a scholarship fund in her mother's name, providing financial aid to students pursuing higher education. The initiative touched countless lives, serving as a lasting legacy to a woman who had instilled values of kindness and perseverance in her daughter. Adrian watched with admiration as Emma channeled her pain into something positive, her strength, inspiring everyone around her. Amidst the highs and lows, their love story continued to unfold, touching not only their own lives but those of others as well. Friends and colleagues often remarked on how Emma and Adrian seemed to radiate happiness, a glow that was contagious. Couples looked to them as role models, proof that relationships built on trust, respect, and shared values could withstand any challenge. Strangers reached out to thank Emma for her tireless advocacy, sharing stories of how her programs had transformed their communities. And Adrian, once viewed as untouchable and distant, was now seen as approachable and relatable, largely due to Emma's influence. On their first anniversary, Adrian planned a surprise getaway to a secluded cabin nestled in the mountains. Surrounded by towering trees and crisp, fresh air, they spent 3 days completely disconnected from the outside world. No phones, no emails, just the two of them and nature. They hiked along winding trails, cooked meals together over an open fire, and stargazed late into the night. It was during one of these quiet moments, wrapped in blankets and gazing at the endless expanse of stars above, that Emma turned to Adrian and said, "Do you remember when we first reconnected? I never imagined we'd end up here." Adrian smiled, pulling her closer. "Neither did I," he replied, "but I wouldn't trade this for anything." Reflecting on their journey, they realized how far they had come, not just individually, but as a team. From their chance encounter at the restaurant to the life they had built together, every step had been guided by faith, hard work, and a belief in second chances. Their story was a reminder that life's greatest blessings often arrive unexpectedly, disguised as challenges or coincidences. For Emma and Adrian, the road ahead was uncertain, but one thing was clear. As long as they had each other, they could face whatever came their way. Together they were unstoppable, a beacon of hope and inspiration to everyone fortunate enough to witness their extraordinary love. As the years passed, Emma and Adrian's lives continued to intertwine in ways that felt almost fated. Their partnership wasn't just a marriage, it was a collaboration that extended beyond their personal relationship into every aspect of their lives. Together, they became a force for good, using their combined resources, talents, and influence to make lasting changes in the world. Yet, even as they achieved remarkable success, they remained deeply connected to the values that had brought them together: humility, compassion, and an unwavering commitment to helping others. One of the most transformative projects they undertook was the establishment of a community center in the heart of the city. The idea came from Emma, who envisioned a space where people from all walks of life could come together to learn, grow, and support one another. It would offer free classes ranging from coding and art to financial literacy and mental health workshops. There would also be recreational areas, a library stocked with books donated by local authors, and a cafe run by aspiring entrepreneurs. Adrian immediately embraced the concept, offering not only funding but also his expertise in project management and logistics. Within months, what had started as a dream began taking shape as a reality. The construction process was a journey in itself, filled with challenges and triumphs. Emma spent countless hours meeting with architects, designers, and community members to ensure the center reflected the needs and aspirations of those it aimed to serve. She visited schools, community groups, and shelters, listening intently to people's stories and incorporating their feedback into the plans. Adrian handled the behind-the-scenes work, negotiating contracts, securing permits, and overseeing timelines, Despite their different roles, they worked seamlessly as a team, each playing to their strengths while supporting the other. When the community center finally opened its doors, the response was overwhelming. Hundreds of people attended the inauguration ceremony, eager to see what Emma and Adrian had created. As Emma stood on stage delivering her speech, tears glistened in her eyes. She spoke about the power of community, the importance of lifting each other up, and the belief that everyone deserved access to opportunities regardless of their circumstances. When she finished, the crowd erupted in applause, many wiping away tears of their own. Adrian watched proudly from the sidelines, knowing how much this moment meant to her, and to him. The impact of the community center quickly became evident. Families enrolled their children in after-school programs, adults signed up for skill-building workshops, and volunteers poured in to lend a hand. What made the center truly special, however, was the sense of belonging it fostered. People who had once felt invisible or marginalized found a place where they were seen, heard, and valued. For Emma, this was the greatest reward, to witness individuals discovering their potential and realizing they had something meaningful to contribute to the world. While the community center thrived, Emma and Adrian's personal lives evolved, in unexpected ways too. One spring morning, as they sat sipping coffee on their balcony, Emma turned to Adrian with a nervous smile. "There's something I need to tell you," she said softly. Adrian raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "What is it?" he asked, setting down his cup. Emma took a deep breath before replying, "We're going to have a baby." Silence followed as Adrian processed her words. Then, slowly, a grin spread across his face, lighting up his entire demeanor. "Are you serious?" he exclaimed, pulling her into a tight embrace. In that moment, their joy was boundless, a shared excitement that filled the room like sunlight breaking through clouds. The pregnancy brought a new dimension to their relationship. For Adrian, the prospect of becoming a father stirred emotions he hadn't anticipated: pride, anticipation, and a touch of fear. He read parenting books, attended prenatal appointments, and meticulously prepared the nursery, determined to create the perfect environment for their child. Emma, meanwhile, navigated the physical and emotional changes with grace, leaning on Adrian whenever she needed reassurance. They marveled at the miracle growing inside her, attending ultrasounds together and marveling at the tiny heartbeat that echoed through the doctor's office. When their daughter, Lily, was born, their world shifted in profound ways. Holding her, for the first time, Emma felt a love so intense it nearly took her breath away. Adrian, cradling the newborn in his arms, whispered, "She's perfect." From that day forward, their days revolved around Lily, feeding her, soothing her cries, and watching in awe as she grew and developed. Parenthood tested them in ways they hadn't imagined: sleepless nights and endless diaper changes stretching their patience. But it also brought them closer, forging a bond deeper than anything they had experienced before. Lily's arrival inspired Emma and Adrian to expand their philanthropic efforts, focusing more on initiatives that supported families and children. They launched a program providing affordable childcare services to working parents, recognizing how crucial such support was for enabling individuals to pursue education and career opportunities. They also advocated for policies addressing maternal health and early childhood development, partnering with lawmakers and organizations to drive systemic change. Through these endeavors, they hoped to create a brighter future, not just for their own family but for countless others as well. As Lily grew older, she became a cherished part of their public appearances. Whether attending charity events or visiting the community center, the little girl with curly hair and bright eyes charmed everyone she met. People often remarked on how fortunate Lily was to have parents who loved her so deeply and used their platform to uplift others. What struck them most, however, was how grounded Emma and Adrian remained despite their wealth and fame. They prioritized spending quality time with Lily, whether it was reading bedtime stories, baking cookies together, or simply playing hide-and-seek in the living room. Their home life was a blend of laughter, curiosity, and occasional chaos. Lily's energetic personality kept them on their toes, her questions about the world sparking conversations that reminded them to appreciate life's simple wonders. On weekends, they explored parks, museums, and farmers markets, introducing her to experiences that nurtured her imagination and empathy. Adrian taught her how to plant flowers on the rooftop garden, while Emma encouraged her artistic side, painting alongside her at the kitchen table. These moments, though ordinary, were treasures they held dear, reminders of the beauty in everyday life. Despite their fulfilling lives, challenges inevitably arose. Balancing parenthood, careers, and activism proved demanding, requiring constant communication and compromise. There were times when exhaustion threatened to strain their relationship, particularly during periods of intense work or family emergencies. Yet they faced these hurdles together, drawing strength from their shared commitment to one another and their vision for the future. Therapy sessions helped them navigate difficult conversations, reinforcing the importance of vulnerability and self-care in maintaining a healthy partnership. Through it all, Emma and Adrian remained steadfast in their belief that love and purpose were intertwined. Their story served as a beacon of hope for many, a testament to the idea that no matter where you start in life, resilience, kindness, and determination can lead to extraordinary outcomes. Strangers wrote letters thanking them for their work, sharing how their initiatives had changed lives. Young couples sought their advice on building strong relationships, inspired by their example of teamwork and mutual respect. And children who benefited from their programs looked up to them as heroes, proof that kindness could ripple outward and create waves of positive change. On Lily's 5th birthday, Emma and Adrian threw a party at the community center, inviting friends, family, and members of the neighborhood. The space buzzed with laughter and music, colorful decorations adorning every corner. As Lily blew out the candles on her cake surrounded by loved ones, Emma glanced at Adrian, her heart swelling with gratitude. "Do you ever think about how lucky we are?" she asked quietly. Adrian nodded, wrapping an arm around her shoulders. "Every single day," he replied, "and I know our best days are still ahead of us." That evening, as they tucked Lily into bed and kissed her goodnight, they reflected on their journey thus far. From their chance reunion at the restaurant to the family they had built together, every twist and turn had shaped them into who they were today. Life had thrown obstacles their way, but it had also gifted them with immeasurable blessings. As they stepped onto the balcony, holding hands beneath a starlit sky, they knew their story was far from over. Together, they would continue to dream, to give, and to inspire. A legacy rooted in love, resilience, and the unshakable belief that second chances could lead to infinite possibilities. As Lily grew older, her presence became a catalyst for even greater change in Emma and Adrian's lives. She wasn't just their daughter. She was a living reminder of the values they held dear: kindness, curiosity, and a deep sense of responsibility toward others. Watching her interact with the world around her inspired them to think bigger, dream bolder, and push harder to create a future where everyone had the opportunity to thrive. Their family dynamic evolved into something extraordinary, blending love, purpose, and action in ways that touched countless lives. One summer morning, as Emma helped Lily tie her shoes before heading to the community center, an idea began to form in her mind. Over the past few years, she had noticed how much joy Lily found in teaching other children simple skills: how to draw, count, or even plant seeds in the garden. It struck Emma that perhaps there was a way to channel this natural enthusiasm into something more structured, something that could benefit not only Lily, but also the kids who frequented the center. That evening, over dinner, she shared her thoughts with Adrian. "What if we started a mentorship program specifically for children?" she suggested. "Older kids could teach younger ones, fostering leadership skills while building connections across age groups." Adrian listened intently, his eyes lighting up at the prospect. "That's brilliant," he said, leaning forward. "It would give them a sense of ownership and responsibility. Plus, it aligns perfectly with our mission to empower communities." Together, they brainstormed ideas, envisioning workshops led by teenagers, art projects guided by preteens, and reading sessions hosted by elementary schoolers. Within weeks, the Little Leaders program was born, quickly becoming one of the center's most popular initiatives. Kids arrived eagerly each week, excited to take on new roles and responsibilities. For Emma and Adrian, seeing these young leaders blossom was nothing short of magical. The success of the Little Leaders program reinforced their belief in the power of collaboration. They realized that true progress came not from individual efforts but from collective action, a lesson they applied not only to their work, but also to their personal lives. As Lily entered school, Emma and Adrian made a conscious effort to involve her in discussions about their philanthropic endeavors. They explained why certain causes mattered, how decisions were made, and what impact their actions had on others. At first, Lily listened wide-eyed, absorbing everything like a sponge. But soon she began asking questions, offering suggestions, and even proposing small-scale projects of her own. Her youthful perspective often brought fresh insights, reminding Emma and Adrian to approach challenges with creativity and open-mindedness. Lily's involvement didn't stop at conversations. On weekends, she accompanied her parents to volunteer events, handing out snacks at charity drives or assisting teachers during educational workshops. Though she was still young, her presence had a profound effect on those around her. Adults marveled at her maturity and empathy, while children gravitated toward her playful energy. One particular moment stood out when Lily befriended a shy boy named Max, who rarely spoke during activities. With gentle encouragement, she coaxed him into joining a group project, cheering him on as he contributed his ideas. By the end of the day, Max was smiling and laughing alongside his peers, a transformation that left everyone deeply moved. Emma and Adrian's dedication to raising Lily with a strong moral compass extended beyond volunteering. They instilled in her a love for learning, exposing her to diverse cultures, histories, and perspectives. Family vacations became opportunities to explore new places and meet people whose lives differed vastly from their own. During one trip to a rural village in India, Lily spent hours playing with local children, marveling at their resourcefulness despite limited resources. Back home, she wrote a letter to her teacher describing the experience, emphasizing the importance of gratitude and sharing. Her words resonated so strongly that the school decided to incorporate lessons on global citizenship into its curriculum. Yet, parenthood wasn't without its challenges. Balancing their demanding schedules with quality time for Lily required constant effort and sacrifice. There were days when Emma felt torn between attending meetings and helping Lily with her homework. Similarly, Adrian struggled with guilt whenever late-night calls interrupted bedtime stories. To address these concerns, they implemented a system of rotating priorities, ensuring that at least one of them was always available for Lily. They also set aside specific times each week for family activities, game nights, movie marathons, or weekend hikes that no amount of work could interfere with. These rituals became sacred, grounding them during hectic periods and reinforcing their commitment to staying present for one another. Their parenting philosophy extended to discipline as well. Rather than imposing strict rules, Emma and Adriana focused on teaching accountability and empathy. When Lily accidentally broke a neighbor's window while playing soccer, they encouraged her to apologize and offer to help repair it. Instead of punishing her, they used the incident as a teachable moment, discussing the importance of taking responsibility for one's actions. This approach fostered trust and communication, allowing Lily to feel comfortable opening up about her feelings and mistakes. As Lily grew into her teenage years, her passion for social justice blossomed. Inspired by her parents' work, she began organizing fundraisers at school, advocating for environmental sustainability, and participating in protests against systemic inequalities. Emma and Adrian watched with pride as she developed her own voice, standing firmly for what she believed in. Yet they also recognized the weight of expectations placed on her shoulders. Friends and strangers alike often referred to her as the daughter of Emma and Adrian, assuming she would follow in their footsteps. While Lily embraced her unique position, there were moments when she felt overshadowed by their legacy. To help her navigate these pressures, Emma and Adrian prioritized open dialogue, encouraging Lily to carve out her own path. "You don't have to be us," Emma told her one evening after a particularly stressful day. Your journey is yours alone. We're here to support you, no matter what you choose." These words meant the world to Lily, giving her the freedom to explore interests outside of philanthropy. She discovered a talent for photography, capturing candid moments that highlighted humanity's beauty and resilience. Her photos gained attention online, eventually leading to exhibitions that raised funds for various causes. In this way, Lily found her niche, not as a replica of her parents, but as someone uniquely capable of making a difference. Despite their achievements, Emma and Adrian remained humble, understanding that their story was part of a larger tapestry woven by countless individuals striving for change. They continued to advocate for policies addressing poverty, education, and healthcare, collaborating with grassroots organizations and government bodies. Their influence reached far beyond their immediate circle, inspiring a generation of activists, entrepreneurs, and changemakers. Yet, they never lost sight of the fact that their greatest accomplishment was the family they had built together. On Lily's 18th birthday, Emma and Adrian organized a surprise celebration at the community center. Hundreds of people gathered to honor not just Lily, but also the collective impact of their family's work. Speeches poured in from friends, colleagues, and beneficiaries, each expressing gratitude for the ways Emma, Adrian, and Lily had touched their lives. As Lily stood on stage, tears streaming down her face, she delivered a heartfelt speech thanking her parents for their unwavering guidance and love. "You've taught me that kindness isn't just an act, it's a way of life," she said, her voice steady despite her emotions, "and I promise to carry that lesson with me wherever I go." That night, as fireworks lit up the sky, Emma and Adrian reflected on how far they had come. From their serendipitous reunion at the restaurant to the thriving family they now cherished, every step of their journey had been guided by faith, resilience, and a shared vision for a better world. They knew challenges lay ahead. Life was unpredictable after all. But they faced the future with confidence, knowing they had each other and the unyielding belief that love and purpose could conquer anything. As they held hands beneath the shimmering lights surrounded by laughter and applause, they understood that their story was not just theirs alone. It belonged to everyone who dared to dream, to give, and to hope, for themselves and for generations to come. As Lily stepped into adulthood, her journey became a reflection of the values Emma and Adrian had instilled in her. She was no longer the little girl who tagged along to community events or marveled at her parents' work. She had grown into a confident young woman with a mind of her own and a determination to make an impact. Her passion for photography evolved into something greater, a platform through which she could amplify the voices of those often overlooked by society. Armed with her camera and a deep sense of purpose, she traveled to underserved communities around the world, capturing raw, unfiltered images that told stories of resilience, struggle, and hope. Emma and Adrian watched proudly as Lily carved out her own identity, yet they couldn't help but feel a pang of nostalgia. The years had flown by in what felt like the blink of an eye, and now their daughter was charting her own course. They supported her every step of the way, whether it was helping her secure funding for projects or simply listening as she shared her dreams over family dinners. But they also gave her space to grow, understanding that independence was essential for her development. Their role shifted from guiding her to cheering her on from the sidelines, trusting that she would find her footing. Lily's first major exhibition, titled Through Their Eyes, took place in a renowned gallery downtown. The event drew crowds from all walks of life: artists, activists, philanthropists, and everyday people eager to see the world through a different lens. Each photograph was accompanied by a short narrative written by Lily, providing context and insight into the lives of her subjects. One image in particular stood out: a portrait of an elderly woman weaving baskets in a remote village. The accompanying text read, "Her hands tell a story of strength and survival. Despite losing everything, she continues to create, one thread at a time." Visitors lingered in front of the display, visibly moved by its simplicity and depth. The success of the exhibition opened doors for Lily, leading to collaborations with international organizations and invitations to speak at conferences about the intersection of art and activism. Yet amidst the accolades, she remained grounded, crediting her parents for shaping her worldview. In interviews, she often spoke about how their commitment to service had inspired her to use her talents for good. "I didn't choose this path alone," she said during one talk. "It was paved by the lessons I learned growing up, in kindness, empathy, and the belief that everyone has a story worth telling." While Lily pursued her dreams, Emma and Adrian continued to expand their own initiatives. The community center, once a fledgling idea, had become a cornerstone of the neighborhood, serving thousands of individuals annually. Programs ranged from vocational training and mental health counseling to cultural festivals celebrating diversity. What set the center apart was its holistic approach. It wasn't just about addressing immediate needs, but fostering long-term growth and empowerment. Emma often joked that running the center was like raising another child, requiring constant care, patience, and innovation. Adrian, meanwhile, focused on leveraging his business acumen to drive systemic change. He spearheaded partnerships between corporations and nonprofits, creating sustainable models that benefited both shareholders and communities. His efforts earned him recognition as a leader in corporate social responsibility, but he never let praise go to his head. Instead, he used his platform to advocate for policies promoting economic equity and environmental sustainability. At the heart of his work was a simple principle: profit should never come at the expense of people or the planet. Despite their achievements, Emma and Adrian were keenly aware of the challenges facing the world. Climate change, political unrest, and widening inequality loomed large, casting shadows over even the brightest successes. There were moments when the weight of these issues threatened to overwhelm them, leaving them questioning whether their efforts truly made a difference. During such times, they leaned on each other, drawing strength from their shared history and unwavering partnership. They reminded themselves that change was rarely immediate, but rather the result of countless small actions adding up over time. Their bond remained as strong as ever, though it evolved with age and experience. Conversations that once centered on logistics and planning now delved into deeper topics: philosophy, spirituality, and the legacy they wanted to leave behind. They often found themselves discussing mortality, not with fear, but with curiosity. What did it mean to live a meaningful life? How could they ensure their impact endured beyond their lifetimes? These questions fueled their desire to keep pushing boundaries, exploring new ways to contribute to the greater good. One winter evening, as snow blanketed the city, Emma and Adrian sat by the fireplace reminiscing about their journey together. They talked about the highs, their wedding day, Lily's birth, the opening of the community center, and the lows, the sleepless nights, the sacrifices, the doubts that sometimes crept in. Through it all, they agreed, their love had been the anchor holding them steady. It wasn't always perfect, but it was real, built on trust, respect, and a shared vision for a better tomorrow. As they sipped hot cocoa, Lily walked in, fresh from editing photos for her latest project. Seeing her parents cozy by the fire, she joined them, curling up on the couch with a blanket. "What are you two talking about?" she asked, smiling. Emma glanced at Adrian before answering. "Just thinking about how lucky we are," she said softly. Lily nodded, resting her head on Emma's shoulder. "Me too," she replied. "And I'm not just talking about having amazing parents. I mean, look at everything we've done together. You've changed so many lives, including mine." Her words hung in the air, filling the room with warmth and gratitude. For a moment, none of them spoke, content to simply be present with each other. Outside, the snow continued to fall, muffling the sounds of the city and creating a cocoon of quiet intimacy. It was in moments like these that they felt most connected, not as individuals pursuing separate goals, but as a family united by love and purpose. The following spring brought new opportunities and challenges. Lily announced plans to move abroad for a year, working with an NGO focused on education in conflict zones. While excited for her, Emma and Adrian couldn't hide their sadness at the thought of being apart. "Are you sure you're ready for this?" Emma asked one evening, her voice tinged with worry. Lily smiled reassuringly. I'll miss you guys more than anything, she admitted. But I need to do this, for me, and for the people I can help. Adrian placed a hand on her shoulder, pride shining in his eyes. We'll always be here waiting for you, he said. Go chase your dreams. In preparation for her departure, the three of them spent weeks packing supplies, organizing fundraisers, and finalizing travel arrangements. It was bittersweet work, filled with laughter and tears. On the day of her flight, Emma and Adrian accompanied her to the airport, hugging her tightly before she boarded the plane. As they watched her disappear down the terminal, Emma wiped away a tear, leaning into Adrian's embrace. She's going to change the world, he whispered, kissing the top of her head. Just like you did. Back home, they threw themselves into their work, finding solace in keeping busy. The community center launched a new initiative aimed at supporting refugees inspired by Lily's upcoming mission. Meanwhile, Adrian partnered with tech companies to develop affordable devices for underprivileged students, ensuring access to digital learning tools. Though they missed Lily dearly, they took comfort in knowing she was carrying forward the values they had taught her. Months later, Emma received an email from Lily containing photographs from her travels. Each image captured a slice of humanity: children laughing in makeshift classrooms, women sewing clothes to sell at local markets, men rebuilding homes destroyed by war. Accompanying the photos was a letter expressing her gratitude. Every day I think about the lessons you've given me, she wrote, about seeing beauty in brokenness, finding strength in vulnerability, and believing in the power of hope. Thank you for showing me what it means to live with purpose. Reading the letter, Emma felt a surge of emotion. She printed it out and pinned it to the bulletin board in her office where she could see it daily. It served as a reminder that their work, both individually and collectively, was far from over. Life was a continuous cycle of giving and receiving, teaching and learning, loving and letting go. And though the road ahead might be uncertain, they faced it with courage, knowing they had each other and the unshakable belief that love and kindness could light even the darkest paths. Years passed and Lily returned home, bringing with her stories and experiences that enriched their lives in unimaginable ways. Together, the three of them continued to dream, to give, and to inspire, a testament to the enduring power of family, resilience, and second chances. Their story was proof that no matter where you start, the choices you make and the love you share can shape destinies beyond measure. As the years rolled on, Emma and Adrian found themselves standing at a crossroads. The vibrant energy of their younger days had mellowed into a quieter, deeper kind of fulfillment. Their hair was streaked with gray, and lines etched their faces, but their eyes still sparkled with the same passion that had driven them for decades. They had spent a lifetime building something extraordinary, a legacy rooted in love, service, and resilience. And now, as they entered the twilight of their lives, they began to reflect on what it all meant. Lily, now in her 30s, had returned from her travels abroad and settled into a life that mirrored her parents' values while carving out her own unique path. She had married a fellow activist named Daniel, and together, they ran an organization focused on storytelling, through art and media. Their home was filled with laughter, creativity, and the pitter-patter of little feet, two children who called Emma and Adrian Grandma and Grandpa. These grandchildren brought a new kind of joy into their lives, one that softened the edges of age and reminded them of the endless cycle of life. Emma and Adrian cherished their role as grandparents, finding immense satisfaction in watching their grandchildren grow. They read bedtime stories, taught them how to plant flowers in the rooftop garden, and shared tales of their own adventures. But more than anything, they passed down the lessons they had learned over the years: the importance of kindness, the value of hard work, and the belief that even the smallest actions could create ripples of change. The grandchildren listened wide-eyed, soaking up every word, unaware that they were inheriting not just stories but a legacy. The community center, once a fledgling dream, had grown into a sprawling institution with branches across several cities. It served as a beacon of hope for countless individuals, offering programs that addressed education, healthcare, and social justice. Emma and Adrian still played active roles, though they had begun delegating more responsibilities to younger leaders. They understood the importance of letting go, of allowing the next generation to take the reins and carry the torch forward. Watching these young people step up filled them with pride and optimism, knowing that their vision would endure long after they were gone. Adrian, ever the strategist, turned his attention to ensuring the sustainability of their initiatives. He worked tirelessly to establish endowments and partnerships that would secure funding for years to come. His goal was simple: to create systems that could operate independently, free from reliance on any single individual. Emma, meanwhile, focused on mentoring emerging leaders, sharing her wisdom and encouraging them to trust their instincts. Together, they laid the groundwork for a future where their absence wouldn't mean the end of their mission. Despite their accomplishments, Emma and Adrian never lost sight of the fragility of life. They had seen too much: loss, hardship, and moments when everything seemed uncertain, to take anything for granted. This awareness deepened their appreciation for the present, prompting them to savor even the smallest joys. A quiet morning, on the balcony, coffee steaming in their cups, an impromptu dance in the living room with Lily's kids giggling at their clumsy moves, a walk through the park, hand in hand, as leaves crunched beneath their feet. These moments became treasures, reminders of how beautiful life could be when lived with intention. One autumn afternoon, as golden sunlight streamed through the windows of their penthouse, Emma and Adrian sat side by side, flipping through old photo albums. Pictures of their wedding day, Lily's childhood milestones, and countless community events filled the pages, each image a snapshot of a memory frozen in time. As they reminisced, Emma paused at a particular photograph, a candid shot of them, standing shoulder to shoulder at the opening of the community center. Their smiles were radiant, their eyes alight with hope and determination. "Do you remember this day?" she asked softly, running her fingers over the image. Adrian nodded, his gaze softening. "How could I forget? It was the beginning of so much." Emma smiled, her voice tinged with nostalgia. "It's funny, isn't it? We didn't know then what we were building, we just followed our hearts." Adrian reached for her hand, squeezing it gently. "And look where it led us," he said. "To each other, to Lily, to everything we've created together." Their reflections weren't limited to happy memories. They also acknowledged the struggles, the sleepless nights, the arguments, the moments of doubt. Yet looking back, they realized those challenges had been integral to their journey. They had tested their love, strengthened their resolve, and ultimately shaped them into who they were today. Life hadn't been easy, but it had been worth it. Every triumph, every tear, every act of giving had contributed to the tapestry of their existence. As winter approached, Emma and Adrian decided to host a gathering at the community center, one last celebration before stepping back fully from their leadership roles. Friends, family, colleagues, and beneficiaries came together under one roof, united by gratitude and admiration. Speeches were made, tears shed, and laughter echoed through the halls. When it was Emma's turn to speak, she stood before the crowd, her voice steady despite the emotion welling within her. "This place started as a dream," she began, glancing at Adrian. "A dream born out of love, for humanity, for community, for the belief that everyone deserves a chance to thrive. Today, it stands as proof that dreams can become reality if we dare to pursue them. None of this would have been possible without all of you, your support, your dedication, your courage." Her words hung in the air, resonating deeply with everyone present. When Adrian joined her on stage, wrapping an arm around her shoulders, the applause was thunderous. That evening, as the festivities wound down, Emma and Adrian lingered behind, walking through the empty halls of the center. Memories flooded back. The first coat of paint on the walls, the sound of children laughing during workshops, the countless hours spent planning and dreaming. For a moment, sadness crept in, but it was quickly replaced by peace. They had done everything they could, given everything they had. Now it was time to let others continue the story. In the years that followed, Emma and Adrian embraced a slower pace of life. They traveled less, preferring instead to spend time closer to home, surrounded by loved ones. They tended to their rooftop garden, watched sunsets from their balcony, and enjoyed lazy afternoons reading books or playing board games with their grandchildren. Though their physical presence was no longer central to the initiatives they had built, their influence remained palpable. Young leaders often sought their advice, drawing inspiration from their unwavering commitment to making the world a better place. Eventually, the inevitable arrived. One peaceful spring morning, Adrian passed away in his sleep, leaving Emma heartbroken, yet grateful for the life they had shared. At his memorial service held at the community center, hundreds gathered to honor a man who had touched so many lives. Emma stood beside Lily, holding her hand tightly as tributes poured in. "He taught me that success isn't measured by wealth or status," one speaker said. "It's measured by the lives you touch and the love you leave behind." In the months that followed, Emma leaned heavily on her family, finding solace in their presence. She immersed herself in writing, a memoir chronicling their journey, capturing the highs and lows, the laughter and tears. It was her way of preserving their story, ensuring that future generations would understand the power of resilience, compassion, and second chances. When the book was finally published, it became a bestseller, inspiring readers worldwide to believe in the possibility of transformation. Emma lived the rest of her days surrounded by love, her heart full of gratitude for the life she had led. She passed away peacefully years later, leaving behind a legacy that spanned generations. The community center thrived, its programs expanding to reach even more people. Lily and her family carried forward the torch, instilling the same values in their children that Emma and Adrian had once taught them. And so, their story continued, not as a tale of two individuals, but as a testament to the enduring power of love, purpose, and connection. Through every challenge and triumph, Emma and Adrian had proven that life's greatest blessings often arrive unexpectedly, disguised as coincidences or hardships. Their journey was a reminder that no matter where you start, the choices you make, and the love you share can shape destinies beyond measure. Together they had changed the world, one act of kindness, one moment of hope, one second chance at a time. The city was alive with its usual chaos, a symphony of honking cars, hurried footsteps, and the hum of conversations spilling out from cafes and street vendors. Among the crowd, Adrian walked with purpose, his polished leather shoes clicking against the pavement. He was a man who commanded attention without trying. His tailored suit, sharp jawline, and confident stride made him stand out in any room. But today, he wasn't thinking about board meetings or stock prices. His mind was preoccupied with memories of a life long past, a time when he wasn't a billionaire but just another kid sitting in a classroom, scribbling notes and dreaming of the future. Adrian had built his empire from nothing. Born into a modest family, he grew up understanding the value of hard work and determination. His parents worked tirelessly to give him and his siblings a decent upbringing, but money was always tight. Despite their struggles, Adrian excelled. In school, earning scholarships that eventually led him to a prestigious university. It was there that his entrepreneurial spirit truly took flight. By the time he turned 30, he had founded a tech startup that would later revolutionize the industry. Now at 42, he was one of the wealthiest men in the country, with a sprawling mansion, luxury cars, and a name recognized worldwide. Yet for all his success, something felt missing. A connection to the simpler days before fame and fortune consumed his life. That evening, Adrian decided to dine at one of the city's most exclusive restaurants. The place was known for its exquisite cuisine and breathtaking views of the skyline. As he entered, the hostess greeted him warmly, leading him to his usual table by the window. From there, he could see the city lights twinkling like stars, a sight that never failed to calm him. He ordered his favorite dish and settled into his seat, letting the ambiance wash over him. For a moment, he allowed himself to relax, savoring the rare opportunity to be alone with his thoughts. But then, something, or rather someone, caught his eye. Across the room, a woman moved gracefully between tables, balancing plates with practiced ease. Her dark hair was tied back neatly, and though her uniform was simple, she carried herself with dignity. There was something familiar about her, though Adrian couldn't quite place it. He watched as she smiled politely at customers, refilled water glasses, and handled requests with quiet efficiency. It wasn't until she turned slightly, revealing her profile, that realization struck him like a bolt of lightning. It was Emma, his old schoolmate. Emma had been unforgettable even back then. She wasn't just smart, she was kind, compassionate, and endlessly curious about the world. While others were content to follow the rules, Emma questioned everything, challenging teachers and classmates alike to think deeper and dream bigger. Adrian remembered how she used to talk about becoming a scientist, dedicating her life to solving global problems. Everyone believed in her potential, including him. Seeing her now, working as a waitress in an upscale restaurant, filled him with a mix of emotions, surprise, curiosity, and a pang of sadness he couldn't quite explain. Adrian's meal arrived, but he barely touched it. His gaze kept drifting back to Emma, watching her every move. She seemed different somehow. Not just older, but wearier. There was a heaviness in her eyes that hadn't been there before, a weight that suggested years of struggle. He wondered what had happened to derail her dreams. Had life thrown obstacles in her path that she couldn't overcome? Or had circumstances forced her to make choices she never imagined she'd have to make? The questions swirled in his mind, each one more unsettling than the last. After finishing his dinner, Adrian hesitated for a moment before approaching the host stand where Emma stood arranging menus. When she looked up and saw him, her expression shifted from polite professionalism to stunned recognition. "Adrian," she said softly, her voice tinged with disbelief. He nodded, offering a small smile. "It's been a long time, Emma." They exchanged pleasantries, though the conversation felt stilted, almost awkward. Adrian asked how she'd been, and Emma gave vague answers, mentioning work and keeping busy. He could tell she was uncomfortable, perhaps even embarrassed, and he didn't blame her. Despite the tension, Adrian couldn't bring himself to leave without saying more. Before parting ways, he handed her his business card. "If you ever need anything," he said gently, "don't hesitate to call." Emma accepted the card with a nod, her fingers brushing against his briefly. "Thank you," she murmured, though her tone suggested she doubted she'd ever use it. As Adrian walked away, he couldn't shake the feeling that he needed to do more. For her, for the memory of who she once was, and maybe even for himself. Back at his penthouse, Adrian poured himself a glass of whiskey and stared out at the glittering city below. Memories of high school flooded his mind. The laughter-filled lunch breaks, the late-night study sessions, the whispered dreams of changing the world. He remembered how Emma used to light up when she talked about her ambitions, her passion infectious. Life had seemed so full of possibilities back then, untouched by the harsh realities that awaited them. Now seeing her reduced to waiting tables left him feeling uneasy, as if fate had played a cruel joke on both of them. Determined to understand Emma's story, Adrian began making discreet inquiries. Through mutual acquaintances and some careful digging, he pieced together fragments of her life. After high school, Emma had enrolled in a prestigious university, just as everyone expected she would. But tragedy struck when her father passed away unexpectedly, leaving her family burdened with debt. With no financial safety net, Emma dropped out of college to support her mother and younger siblings. Over the years, she took on various jobs, teaching, assistant retail clerk, office temp, but none provided the stability she needed. Eventually, she found herself working in restaurants, relying on tips to make ends meet. Learning these details only deepened Adrian's resolve. He couldn't ignore the injustice of it all, the way life had robbed Emma of her dreams while rewarding him with unimaginable success. Sitting in his office the next morning, he stared at the skyline, his mind racing with possibilities. An idea began to take shape, one that could offer Emma a second chance. Picking up the phone, he called his assistant and instructed her to arrange a meeting with Emma under the pretense of discussing potential job opportunities. If anyone deserved a lifeline, it was her. When Emma arrived at Adrian's corporate headquarters a few days later, she looked nervous but composed. Dressed in a modest blouse and skirt, she clutched her purse tightly as she stepped off the elevator, into the sleek modern lobby. Adrian greeted her warmly, guiding her to a private conference room where coffee and pastries awaited. As they sat down, he noticed the guarded look in her eyes, as if she were bracing herself for bad news. To put her at ease, he started with small talk, asking about her commute and commenting on the weather. Slowly, the tension in her shoulders eased, and she began to relax. Finally, Adrian got to the point. "Emma," he began, leaning forward. "Slightly. I've been thinking a lot about our conversation the other day, about your skills, your experience, and the challenges you've faced. I want to offer you a position within my company, not as a waitress or receptionist, but as a project manager overseeing one of our philanthropic initiatives." He paused, gauging her reaction. Emma's eyes widened in shock, her mouth opening, slightly as if to speak but finding no words. Adrian continued, explaining the details of the role: a competitive salary, benefits, and the opportunity to make a real impact on people's lives. For a moment, Emma simply stared at him, her mind struggling to process what she'd just heard. Was this real? Could she trust that this wasn't some elaborate act of pity disguised as generosity? Sensing her hesitation, Adrian leaned back in his chair and spoke earnestly. "This isn't charity, Emma. You're intelligent, resourceful, and compassionate. Qualities we desperately need in this initiative. Let me give you the platform to shine again." His words hung in the air, heavy with sincerity. Emma swallowed hard, blinking back tears as she nodded slowly. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice trembling. "I won't let you down." Over the following weeks, Emma threw herself into her new role with unwavering dedication. Under her leadership, the philanthropic initiative flourished, reaching communities in need and inspiring hope where there had once been despair. Adrian watched proudly as Emma regained her confidence, her natural talents shining brighter than ever. Their professional relationship blossomed into a friendship built on mutual respect and admiration. Yet, beneath it all, there lingered a quiet connection rooted in their shared history, a bond neither of them could deny.